This is Trey Lopushinsky with energeticcity.ca, and this is the Community Roundup brought to you by Brad's Furniture and Appliances. Today I'm with Connie Greyeyes, who's the president of the Spirit of the Peace Pow Wow, that is back after a long hiatus due to the pandemic. It's going to be from June 10th to 12th, and I'm here with Connie to talk a little bit about the event. Straight off the top, Connie, couple years since the event has taken place. How are you feeling? What's the energy like to finally throw this event once again?
You know what? Our committee and all of our volunteers couldn't be more happy to be able to have this event again after such a long hiatus. You know, we missed the drums, we missed the dancing, we missed the energy, and we're super excited for this upcoming powwow in June.
So it's a 2-day event. For those on 3-day events.
Yep.
It's 10th to 12th? Yeah, that is 3 days. Apparently I'm learning math.
We start grand entry on Friday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, so it's open for Indigenous and non-Indigenous. So for people who are not familiar with powwows, what's included? What's happening during the event?
You know, there's so many things to take in when you come down to the powwow. We have vendors that are selling traditional items that they make, some traditional foods. We will have some vendors that present kind of like what they have to offer. In the past, we've had First Nations Health Authority with a booth and things like that. What you can mostly expect is to watch beautiful dancing and listen to the drums. And that's our heartbeat. And, you know, if you come down to the powwow, I don't think that there's a place on earth that you will have the opportunity to see that beautiful dancing, that drumming, and the elders of the communities here, you know, engaging with the little ones, dancing, and it's just that whole vibe of just goodness, and we're so excited. You know, it's going to be so fantastic when you do come, because like you just mentioned, it's non-Indigenous and Indigenous. It's open to everybody. It's a free event, and it runs from Friday at 7 p.m. is our first grand entry until Sunday evening. And when somebody comes that may not be familiar with the powwow, we actually do a pamphlet of protocols, things not to do, things that are okay to do. When you can and can't take pictures or videos. So we want to make sure that our guests that come that aren't familiar with it also are comfortable in knowing some of the protocols that will be happening during the powwow.
And just kind of getting a little bit into the pamphlet, you mentioned something that I'm very curious about, and I've heard this before, so correct me if I'm wrong, but doing the Before the Peace podcast, obviously talking with a lot of Indigenous people in the community, I'm told that sometimes the drum songs are very sacred. And there are times where you know, it's almost lack of a better term, like a blessing. It's a big moment for those songs to be shared. So that's something that it kind of stays within for the guests that are there, the participants of the powwow. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, there's some ceremonies that take place, such as if a dancer drops one of their eagle feathers. That's a very special ceremony that takes place to pick it back up. You know, we also have eagle whistles that are blown on a drum sometimes, where a dancer will be asked to bless a family or that may be sick or experiencing a death, and they'll ask a dancer that carries those eagle whistles to go to a drum and they blow that eagle whistle. And we also don't allow that ceremony to be videotaped. They're very special, and when you see it happening at the powwow, everybody is just like, all of a sudden, you know, like you're like, okay, this is going on, and everybody just kind of is puts all of their energy into that, and it's just so amazing to witness. I think that the best way to describe it is, you know, a lot of the songs are very old, they're ceremonial, and you know, to be able to sit even beside a drum, you know, you're welcome to go stand around them when they're singing. And just to be able to feel that energy that comes off when they're singing a special ceremonial song or a prayer song is something else. You know, I've had many people that the first time they've ever gone to a powwow come up to me and they said, I just started crying uncontrollably. I couldn't stop myself. And it's like you actually felt that energy that was meant to come through for you. So
it's interesting that you say that, because I remember the first powwow that I went to was about, I think it was now 6 years ago. It was just outside of Onion Lake, near Lloydminster on the Alberta-Saskatchewan border, for those who don't know. And At first, I felt a little out of place. Also, I had to trek through a bunch of mud, and I was not. I was wearing like Jordans, like brand new
Yeah.
Jordans. But once I got there, that went away. You see
Yeah.
the energy, you kind of match with everyone. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I teared up a little bit, but it was just beautiful to witness. It was beautiful to watch, and everyone was just so inviting. If you look back on your first experience at the powwow,
I was literally just thinking about it.
okay, well, what was the experience like for you?
My sister Susan Auger, she was one of the founding people that started that very first powwow, and it was with the Aboriginal Education Center. Brenda Labuschagne was the head of that, and just kind of like they were already into all the fundraising was pretty much done. They were looking for volunteers, and she recruited me and my sisters. Said, you guys need to come and help with this, and we got to come in on the grand entry, and I had never been to a powwow. I started my journey back, bringing my culture back quite a few years ago, and I remember when they started drumming that drum song, and everybody started dancing in, and then we were leading it because we were part of the committee, right? And I remember looking up at the ceiling, and I had tears coming down my face, and all I could think of was my dad. My dad went to residential school, and we didn't have this growing up. And all I could think of was, what would my dad be thinking now seeing us here doing this? And I started crying. I could feel that energy from those songs, and I've never been more proud to be an Indigenous woman in this world than when I'm doing grand entry. Whether I'm wearing my own regalia or whether I'm there as the Spirit of the Peace Pow Wow president, or if I'm just there as a volunteer at other powwows. There's nothing quite like being able to bring that ceremony, those songs and dances, and all those dancers from everywhere to this region to come and showcase their dancing for you. It's really quite special.
And what goes into organizing the powwow? Like, for instance, the dancers you mentioned, they're from different areas. Is it outside Treaty 8 as well?
Oh, absolutely. We've had dancers come from the States, all across Canada. The Spirit of the Peace Powwow is actually known to be a very hospitable powwow. We make sure that our elders from the region and any elders that show up are taken care of. We provide them with food and tea, sometimes a can of pop, sometimes somebody from the nation will bring in a bag of dry meat for them. And you know what, we make sure that the children and the elders that come to the powwow are taken care of. We're known for that. But when we're starting this, right now we're into the fundraising part. We have a lot of long-time volunteers that, the other day I just got a call from the Canadian Water Servants, and they were like, oh yeah, hey, we heard about the powwow, and you know what, we still want to be part of it, and we want to donate all the water, and they bring like cases of water and a whole bunch of water jugs, and they make sure all of our dancers have water on hand. And it's that kind of relationship that we've forged with some of the smaller companies in Fort St. John that never fail to come through for us and help us. So once we've kind of started the fundraising aspect, we start to pull in volunteers, because the powwow will run from, we start on Thursday night, and our committee isn't done until Monday afternoon. And that's full days when you get up right until you go to bed at 1 or 2 in the morning, and you're back up at 7. And it takes a lot of work. And so once we start gathering the volunteers, we just lead up to that day and make sure that everything is done and taken care of. We set up the teepee for the ceremony. There's a pipe ceremony in the mornings, just to bless the powwow and all of our visitors.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, how that works at the
Yeah, there's a lot of ceremonial aspects to the powwow, whether it's a traditional powwow or a competition powwow. There's still that ceremonial aspect that we have to take care of. This year, our powwow was blessed with a new eagle staff from community members in Blueberry.
Oh, wow.
And it's super special. I'll be picking that up in Edmonton. It was made special for our Spirit of the Peace powwow. And we're really grateful to the community members of Blueberry that provided those eagles feathers for us to make a new one. And there's just so much, but leading up to it, it's months of preparation. And the thing about the powwow is that we don't have like a guest list of people that we invite. We put a poster out there and say, please come. And every single year they've come. So it's something else. It's really been a blessing in my life to be part of it, as tiring and exhausting as it is.
Another thing I was told too, I believe it was from Roland Wilson with West Moab, is generally with powwows, it's not super advertised. It's just, if it's happening, you just show up. No matter who you are, you just show up. Is that true?
Roland is right.
Yeah,
absolutely right. That's a man to listen to. It's true. We put it out there, and we just hope that they come, and they do. Like we have quite a few powwow friends that are dancers that have come to our powwows and supported our powwow every single year. Traveling from Saskatchewan, traveling from Ontario, traveling from the States, to come and share their dancing with us, and we're really grateful for that big it's a big powwow family, that show up every year. The last couple of years was tough. I haven't seen some of my friends that are on the powwow circuit for a couple of years, and I'm really looking forward to this one because we're finally able to gather again. And it's
well, we
been
were just
so
saying,
long.
sorry to interrupt you, Connie. We were just saying when you got in, finally, we've talked how often, and finally we're seeing each other without the masks.
Yeah.
It's been far and few between over the
Yeah.
past, year and a half, at least what I've been here talking.
Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed. I'm like, hey, I don't have to wear a mask today. I'm still wearing my Canucks toque, but yeah, and that's what's going to be so special about it. We're not having to, we could have. There's other nations that have had their powwows prior, and we just wanted to make sure that we were safe, and that our main priority having this is that we keep our elders safe. They're the ones that pass down all of their knowledge and traditions and all the culture to us, and we need to make sure they're safe. So, you know what, as tough as it was to not have the powwow, we were it was super important to us to make sure that our elders were taken care of.
Now, compared to previous years, obviously pre-pandemic, have you noticed that, for instance, volunteers and maybe sponsors are kind of coming through quicker than previous years, just based on the fact that now that things are opening up or have opened up now, everyone's chomping at the bit for events, it seems?
Yeah, you know what? I kind of steer a little bit away from the actual technical parts of the fundraising. I have been contacted by quite a few people already saying, hey, we didn't get a powwow proposal yet. And that's like unheard of, that somebody calls and says, hey, how come you didn't send this to me?
What about
right?
us?
Yeah, so we're really hoping that that the donations pull through. It's always really stressful to know that you're going to host an event and know that you need to reach a certain goal to get there and make sure that you take care of everybody that shows up, right? It's much different at a competition powwow than a traditional powwow because, at a traditional powwow you can drive 10 hours to go there, and they give an honorarium to every dancer. So you might get $5, you might get $50. You don't know, but with our competition powwow we have certain prizes that we give out. So it's always stressful leading up to it, but this community, and it never ever fails, has always pulled through. There has been times when we were like thousands of dollars short 5 days before the powwow, and our Muslim would tell us, don't worry about it. It's going to come through. It's going to happen. And every single time it's happened. So, we have huge faith. And you know what? This community is so giving. I can't say enough about it. I do a lot of fundraising. I do a lot of things off the side, not just the powwow. And the community has always shown up. And I think that now, even more so in the spirit of reconciliation, it's even more important to forge those relationships. We know with what happened with the 215, and more that it's coming out, that it's super important to work together. And that goes for both sides. There's been times where people are really surprised that I have extended to other industry and things. And I do believe that we have a responsibility to work together. That's the only way. And this community shows up tenfold with support of donations towards our powwow. There's been very few times that with anything that I've done that it hasn't been made possible because of this community. So.
And I was just going off of with the 215, on top of the pandemic, on top of recent findings at Williams Lake, how important is it to return to these traditional gatherings where it's more positive, because there's seems to be so much negative over the past couple of years, especially with Indigenous communities across Canada, and residential schools now coming to the top of mind for most people, Canadians in general.
Yeah. You know what? With the findings of the 215, I think it's pretty well known. I work for the Indian Residential School Survivor Society. With the findings of that there, and with communities in general having that opportunity to support events that were directly that the government and the churches of Canada deliberately tried to take away from us. Supporting such events, either whether it's by a donation or just coming, that's huge to show your support that we're still here, we're still singing our songs, we're still doing our ceremonies, and it, in the spirit of reconciliation, coming down and supporting that and seeing that happen. Often I'm asked, like, well, how can you just kind of just form relationships, I guess, is the easiest way to put it, with agencies and things that have tried to keep you down. And it's so much more than that. It's about working together and actually having that understanding finally, and saying
it's not looking past things, but it's just coming to an understanding, right?
Exactly. There's lots of times when elders, when they had the apology, Harper gave the apology. We actually were in a ceremony when that happened. And our Muslim told us, he said, we needed to accept it. That maybe maybe the intent behind the apology might not have been what we wanted it to be, but it was there, and that we should forgive and accept that apology. I, for one, am a very bullheaded person, and my grandfather, my Muslim, has taught me a lot, and it's the same with this. When people that have in the past been very vocal about Indigenous rights and that it's nonsense that we're always protesting and fighting, and I've had people that have been very, very aggressive, both verbally and to me, regarding those kinds of things, and have come and said, you know what, I've learned, I get it, I understand now, and you know what, I've accepted those apologies, because that's my responsibility in the spirit of reconciliation. How when you don't know any better, you can't do better. And now that all of this is coming to light with intergenerational trauma that's happened with residential schools and day schools, that we do have that opportunity to know better, and there's so many people out there now that are willing to understand that and know the impacts. So when we're having an event such as the Spirit of the Peace Powwow, where we're inviting all of our friends and all of our neighbors to come down and share this with us, come down, showing that support for your Indigenous friends, and maybe learning something or seeing something you may have never seen before, all about those experiences. And it's also it's such a huge thing for us to be able to have those celebrations that were actually banned at one time in Canada. We weren't allowed to have those ceremonies. We weren't allowed to have powwows. We weren't allowed to go to sweat lodges. Those were all,
How recent was that?
Jeez. I don't really know. I couldn't say.
We
My sister
date,
Susie could tell you the dates, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? There was a time when that you couldn't do that. You couldn't even leave the reserve without a letter saying that you could leave. And now that we've come so far, and that's not saying we've got a long ways to go still, but we've come so far with the way that we are treated in Canada, that come that little bit further. Come join us.
Yeah.
come and check this out because you will not regret it. I can guarantee that. It's going to be something that you've never seen before if you have never been to a powwow. And you're gonna feel that energy. And I know very few people that have gone there and said, well, everybody that has ever messaged me and said, you know what, like that was unbelievable. I'm so happy I went. And you know, they may have bought themselves a pair of moose hide moccasins from one of the local vendors, and it's a really great atmosphere.
That's so awesome. I'm so excited. Thank you for coming and talking about it, Connie.
Absolutely.
For anyone wanting to fundraise or donate or wanting to be a sponsor, where can they go?
They can message me.
Okay.
You know, I'm quite out there on social media. I'm pretty readily available to answer any questions. We really appreciate it. We have a Spirit of the Peace Powwow page. We're looking for volunteers, and you don't need to have any qualifications to do it. Just a good heart and a willingness to work hard to have this event happen. It's a lot of work. I'm not going to lie. You know, there's Monday afternoon. We are tired. You know, we jokingly call it the powwow hangover, and and man, it's real. It's absolutely real. But I really encourage everybody to come down and check what it's all about. You know, you won't regret it. I can guarantee that. I'll be on the stage. I'm usually sitting there, you know, making sure that the events everything's being done as what we need. And if you have any questions, or you want to talk, or you want to know something, any one of our committee members, or really anybody at the powwow, is willing to share their knowledge with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Connie. Again, the Spirit of the Peace Powwow taking place in Taylor, June 10th to 12th. Connie Greyeyes is the president of the Spirit of the Peace Powwow. Thank you again so much, Connie.
Yeah.
I'm Trey Lopushinsky with Energetic City, and they're sponsored by Brad's Furniture and Appliances. And this is the Community Roundup. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. And now I have to get up and turn it off.